Hi everyone, Sam here. Before we start today, I just got two very important bits of information. One, from next week on, we are changing the format very slightly of the podcast. It is now going to be called Big Fact Hunt, and every week one of us will act as the fact controller who will send the other three out to find the best facts against the clock. So very similar to what we've done, but in a slightly different format. So that's going to be starting from next week. And in the other, very important for me, special announcement, I've written a book. It's called Snake Brought Cake. It's perfect for kids of all ages, but especially from 0 to 7. We've worked really hard on it. There's my name up the top. And wonderful illustrations by Darren Parton. Available for pre-order at Paper Plus, and it comes out on April 26th. So please go and pick up a copy. I'm so proud of it. It's my first picture book, and I love it. So please go out and buy it. Well, anyway, from this is all about animals, and the podcast this week is all about bunnies. So go on into it and enjoy it. Thanks. We'll see you soon.
How did rabbits make Jamie Lee Curtis's mum go psycho?
Which bunny had the first ever #1 rap song?
What's with all the carrots?
And are you suffering from weaponized rabbit fever?
I don't know what that means, but I cannot wait to find out. It's Easter. Happy Easter, everyone! Hello, welcome back to Everything You Didn't Need to Know About. Today we are talking everything you didn't need to know about bunnies, because it is Easter. As always, we will be giving you our favourite facts that we found out this week about bunnies. Will that fact come from Mr. Nathan Kenny? Will it come from Mr. Jennifer Jewell? Will it come from Mr. Thom Adams? Or will it come from Mrs. Sam Smith? We shall find out very, very shortly. Interesting fact about bunny ears. You know how people do that, and it's called bunny ears in photos? That dates back to medieval times, and it's when people used to do it
in photos.
Please tell me people did it in oil paintings, that there are oil paintings.
All through the oil paintings.
The thing is, people had to stand still for hours.
They were known as cuckold's horns because it was like when your wife cheated on you, they would shame that person out by making them wear antlers and tie them up in the middle of the town. So the dude was real shamed out about it. And then people used to do that from that point. So at the moment, guys, it kind of looks like your wives have been sleeping around on you.
In fairness, I have been sleeping with both of your wives, so fair dues. There's a lot of that in Shakespeare. A lot of the visual gags in Midsummer Night's Dream revolve around rabbit ears or the horns of Bottom.
So I might get this wrong, but that's rock and roll, right? But it's also a insult in Eastern Europe. It means exactly that. Like, it means,
that is the Italians' version of that.
I do like that you can go from devil horns to finger rabbit shadow puppetry.
But rabbits are like associated with horniness, I guess, because that's the whole reason why Playboy chose rabbits as their symbol. But also, there's that we all know the phrase "fucking like bunnies." Where we are in New Zealand, rabbits are everywhere. Rabbits are a major pest. In England, they are not as much of a pest because England has winter, whereas New Zealand just has autumn continued. Our rabbits don't really have a breeding season. They just breed all the time. So fucking like bunnies is great, but fucking like New Zealand bunnies is even more intense. Yeah. Because they just don't stop.
The other thing is we might not have a real winter, but we also, while we do have stoats and weasels and things, thanks England.
So they brought rabbits over from England to New Zealand because they wanted to sort of make it great, and then the bunny population exploded because of the winter.
And it was already a horrible idea because they had them over in Australia and they'd caused untold ecological damage, and yet they were like, yeah, it's a really good idea to bring over bunnies. So they brought them over a few times. They eventually took. But then they went, oh shit, we need something to deal with these. We'll bring over some stoats and weasels and things to eat.
Ferrets, yeah.
They brought over these things, and the stoats and weasels went, I could run really fast after that bunny, or I could get that really fat flightless bird.
Yeah.
And we know how that ended up.
Well, then the government said in all these things to control the rabbits and kill off the rabbits, and then they got the numbers down a bit, but then they got to a point where they said, okay, now farmers, you need to control the rabbit population, and they went, we're not going to pay for that, we're farmers. And so the numbers again boosted up, and then farmers secretly brought in the Khaleesi virus to kill them off. They kind of shoved it in under the radar. It killed off a bunch of rabbits again, but then it meant that all those stoats and weasels and ferrets have been chowing down more and more on the native birds, which means that we need to bring more rabbits back to feed the stoats, weasels, and ferrets. So it's the never-ending story.
All I can think of is there's a guy in a swan dryer and gumboots doing the Dennis Nedry from Jurassic Park, like getting some calicivirus in a shaving tube and then getting eaten by a bunny.
It's funny you bring up the calicivirus, because the calicivirus is like the New Zealand version of myxomatosis, which is actually in New Zealand as well. But myxomatosis is like the most famous one. And I don't know, have any of you ever heard of possibly the greatest movie of all time? It's a movie called Night of the Lepus. Now, if you thought that rabbits could be a horror movie villain, yes, they can. It's actually kind of a bizarre movie. It's terrible. It is honestly, I've seen clips of it. It is honestly terrible. Watch the trailer. It is hilarious. It's like, what lurks in the night? And it's like, they don't ever really show the rabbit. Like, they show one clip of a rabbit and it looks adorable. But so the rest of it's all like glowing eyes in the dark, because you cannot make rabbits scary.
The Beast of Camanog would beg to differ.
But rabbit.
This is Night of the Lepus has rabbits that have been like injected with some kind of weird virus that makes them somehow gigantic and also bloodthirsty. And so to show the bloodthirsty rabbits, they either do like close-ups of like a rabbit going with like blood like painted around its mouth, or they have gigantic model towns where they just get a whole bunch of rabbits to run through.
Awesome.
And it is adorable. It is so cute. Well, what's really amazing, and I didn't realize about Night of the Lepus, is that it actually has some really massive movie stars. It has Rory Calhoun, who, if you're a Simpsons fan, massive get there, standing up like a little Rory Calhoun. No one knows.
Yeah. Yes. Standing like, who's that man, Smithers?
Who's that man? Who's always standing and walking around?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
Rory
great.
Calhoun. But it also has DeForest Kelley, better known as Leonard Bones McCoy from Star Trek, but it gets better. It also has Janet Leigh in it. Janet Leigh of Psycho fame. Janet Leigh was the massive actress who was in Psycho, in all the big kind of advertisements, only to be killed off in the first 10 minutes.
I don't think she was actually massive. It's just that the rabbits were really small, so they made her look bigger than she was.
So she's in this movie because she said, it read okay. It was close to my home, so my family could come and visit. So she's massive. She's in this movie. And this is after Psycho. So this is even weirder. And her daughters had the opportunity to be on the movie, but she said, no, I don't want my daughters to be exposed to horror movie stuff. So one of her daughters, Jamie Lee Curtis, who would later gone to become one of the greatest scream queens of all time. So Janet Leigh in Night of the Lepus may have introduced her daughter to horror movies.
Whoa, that's a great connection. Cool. I love that.
It's so
I also
bizarre.
love the idea that baby Jamie Lee Curtis read the script and went, I'm good. I'm going to wait a little bit.
It's based on a book, though, and I have to tell you about the book because it is insane. Okay, so the book is based in Australia, and it's like a comedy horror where a guy creates a myxomatosis version that basically kills humans and sends rabbits insane. Then it gets weird. So he goes to the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister weaponizes it, turns them into basically, they call it supermix bombs, and plant them in countries all around the world, and then say, everyone stop fighting, no more war, or we will destroy your countries. Destroys 2 countries. And then says, all right, peace in our time. Everyone is peaceful. He tries to cancel weapon factories, but that crashes a whole lot of economies. So they make weapons and dump them in the ocean. All of the nuclear physicists on the planet are exiled to a certain island. Because Australia is the main seat and has no bomb, and because the virus can't get across, they're safe, except they have giant rabbits that are charging all across the continent, wiping people out. And the army fights them. Eventually, they abandon Australia to the rabbits and the original, the Aborigines of Australia, who summon a flood to kill the rabbits. At that point, the book ends, and they're like, but there's all these bombs. So probably the world's going to end. Isn't that the most insane idea for a book?
That's awesome.
You say book, do you mean long form blog post? Because this very much reads like sort of 2015 Tumblr.
I thought Night of the Lepus was crazy. I was like, man, what an absurd premise for a movie. And then I was like, it's based on a book?
Did you guys know that Peter Rabbit first appeared in December 1901, which was the same month that Walt Disney was born and the same month that Robert Van de Graaff of Generator fame was born?
Static Man.
Yeah, that's right.
What is Generator?
There's a thing called a Van de Graaff generator.
It's the big ball of static electricity you touch and then touch like zap people with, and it's very funny.
Yeah. My physics teacher at high school was standing next to one, and it zapped his glasses, and he got shingles. And he looked just like one of the Bee Gees, so that was good times.
You guys know Lola Bunny? There's Lola Bunny.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I didn't realize that Lola Bunny was created for Space Jam. She never existed before Space Jam.
Whoa.
I had no idea. I thought I assumed that there was like a female bunny running around, but no.
Well, there was Jessica Rabbit from Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
You know she's a human, right? She's married to Roger Rabbit and just took his surname. She's not a rabbit.
No, Sam, when you marry someone, you take their genus as well.
I found out that during Roger Rabbit is quite a big movie because it was like the first time that Looney Tunes characters and Disney characters appeared at the same time, and there was a big like legal argument about it, and because of that, Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse had to appear for the exact same amount of time. They only ever in the scenes with each other, and the guy who played Roger Rabbit, he showed up on set to do the voice, but he also dressed as Roger Rabbit throughout all of the filming because he's crazy.
That's amazing. The Who Framed Roger Rabbit Disneyland ride is one of the best I've ever been on. It's
Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin.
We did it because it was a short wait and there was a bunch of queues for everything else and we had time and just went in not expecting it to be fun. I think we did it 3 times that day. It was
great.
Awesome.
They made that ride because they took one of the teacups from the Mad Tea Party. They put it on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. They tested it out by spinning it all ways, and that was the inspiration for Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin.
Does it take exactly the same amount of time as other bunny-related rides in Disneyland?
Oh, the only other bunny-related ride is Splash Mountain, which was inspired by Song of the South, which is super racist.
Which is appropriate, because a bunch of Bugs Bunny cartoons have had to be pulled from circulation because of the super racism. There was a indie film festival in San Francisco that I found a feature about from 2007, and there was a guy who was running a program of banned Bugs Bunny cartoons, and it was called Bad Bunny.
Don't Google that. Do you want to know how bad bunnies can get?
Oh, Kitty, that's the sexiest thing I've ever heard you say. Yes, please.
So the US government actually played with something called, there's an actual disease called rabbit fever, which sounds funny until you realize that it used to kill 50% of people who got it. So it's on the skin of rabbits, and people used to get them when they'd skin the rabbit, and it would aerosol the disease and go everywhere. And people would breathe it in. And it's bacterial disease. You'd get big sores on your arms. You'd get a cough. You'd fall over. Half the time you'd die. Now we've got antibiotics, so we do a little bit better. But it's sort of the perfect bioweapon because it's very easily aerosolized, but it doesn't go from person to person and it doesn't last very long. So you can spray it over troops. They'll all die. And then you can walk in with your own troops and it's already disappeared. And the troops that are there are not going to give it to anyone. They're not going to take it to civilians.
Whoa.
So the US government actually tried to weaponize rabbit fever. And it may have been used in Stalingrad. The Russians may have used this rabbit fever on the Nazis going into Stalingrad, and lots of them had to drop out. And back then, antibiotics were the new wonder drugs, but there weren't many around.
Whoa.
Yeah. Bunny fever took down the Nazis, or at least a very small number of them.
Incredible.
That's amazing. There's another way that rabbits can kill you as well, because their livers are really high in vitamin A, I think. And there was a story about a guy in America who tried to go live off grid and he died. And they think it's because he was trapping and killing and eating a lot of rabbits, and he was eating the livers as well and basically poisoning himself.
Whoa.
So if
Same thing happened to early explorers in the Arctic, because they would eat
polar bears,
which have the
and
same
it's
thing.
vitamin E.
Yeah, you build up a toxic amount in your system because they can process ridiculous amounts of this and we just can't. And so if you eat the liver where it's all stored in their body, it'll just crap out your system and it won't be fun.
Next time I'm hunting polar bears in the Arctic, I'll remember not to.
Yeah, stop doing that, Kenny. We've talked to you about this.
Did you guys know if you told a rabbit to eat shit, it would happily do so?
Yeah.
Rabbits
are cool.
Rabbits are weird. They eat grass, and grass is notoriously terrible for any kind of nutrition at all.
Yeah.
It's the nutritional value on the box, it's like a half star. Normally cows ruminate, they got 4 stomachs. Horses just have ridiculously long intestines. Rabbits are tiny, so they can only have so long intestines. Their intestines are massive for their body size. Basically, rabbits can just kind of double the length of their intestines by eating the food again as shit. It's also weird, you cannot call a rabbit. You can tell them to eat shit, but you can't call them a mouth breather, because they cannot breathe through their mouth. They can only breathe through their nose.
So do they have a separated esophagus and...
The cleft palate's quite soft, and apparently it's kind of mostly pushed up against unless they swallow, and then it kind of moves. But obviously, you're not breathing while you swallow.
It makes perfect sense, though, because if you were eating shit, would you want to be breathing?
Speaking of the eating habits of rabbits, I was looking into rabbit food, and my fact is, what's with all the carrots, which is, of course, from the musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Once More Feeling, because I couldn't resist it. But the other thing I wanted to point out was, to quote another internetism, rabbits can have little a carrot as a treat, because actually carrots are really, really bad for rabbits. Please don't give them to rabbits.
They're really sugary.
Yeah, which to me, I mean, obviously Sam is a dentist, I assume you already knew this, but I would have thought like, oh, a healthy, good person snack, I will eat a carrot and be good for my teeth, da-da-da-da. No, full of sugar. Really bad.
Not particularly bad for your teeth, because carrots, they don't have a high contact time with your teeth, so they don't sort of stick around too much, unless they get caught somewhere in your teeth. But
it's a weight thing.
Or you're eating carrot toffee.
Yeah, and they're like 99% water, so it's not too bad for humans. But for rabbits who are much smaller, eating a huge, big-sized carrot that's the length of their body, probably not the best.
Probably bad. So I was looking into this, and the RSPCA in England actually says about lettuce, don't give your rabbits lettuce. It is mostly water and has no nutritional value, which I've bookmarked. Next time someone's like, would you like some salad? I'm like, no, the RSPCA says it has no nutritional value. I refuse. But on that same page, I was looking into eating habits of rabbits and more generally. There's a species of hare, which I know is not technically a rabbit, but it's close enough, in Canada, which frequently eats its main predator, which I just think is really metal and cool.
It's so cool.
So they're snowshoe hares, and they
wear shoes.
Yeah, their main predator is a lynx. These beautiful white fluffy hares, and they look more like rabbits, because you know sometimes hares look real gangly and freaky looking. These ones look like floofy bunnies. They're really pretty. But the picture that accompanied the article that I read was one chowing down on the corpse of a lynx.
Incredible.
They don't kill them, they scavenge them, but it's still pretty cool to see them eating them. But then that led me to the favourite childhood trauma of most, especially in Britain. I think there were a lot of pet rabbits in classrooms in Britain, but the rabbits eating their children trope. So I found a really helpful website that talks about reasons for a rabbit to eat their baby. Stillborn. When a baby is stillborn, your rabbit will proceed to eat the body. Placenta. The rabbit may be eating the afterbirth and become confused. Panic. She's already nervous and eats her babies. Dietary protein. She was left drained and devoid of energy following the birth of her children. Territorial behavior. She has no intention of sharing her hutch and removes the competition. Weakest, less likely to survive. Rabbits can be Darwinian in their approach to motherhood. I just really appreciate that every kind of reason for eating the babies is given like a, why don't you see it from the rabbit's point of view?
Well, I guess if your kid's a little shit, you might as well eat them.
Yeah.
If you're a rabbit.
I see what you did there, buddy.
Hey.
My favourite Playboy buddy is Carol Cleveland from Monty Python.
Hey.
She's the woman actress in Monty Python who plays the woman when Terry Jones is not playing the woman.
When Terry Jones is not available.
Yeah.
I think you can put it, she plays the fit women.
Yeah, that's right.
Terry Jones plays the other women.
That's right.
Yeah.
Also found out that Debbie Harry was a Playboy bunny, who's obviously the lead singer of Blondie, sang such wonderful hits such as The Tide is High, which is a cover of the Paragons, a first wave ska band. Blondie also had a song called Rapture, which was the very first #1 rap song. So Debbie Harry is the first person to ever have a rap #1.
This is so wrong.
It's so bad too.
It was in 1981. It was, incredible.
Never heard of that.
It's actually really not good rapping. It's almost like, well, my name's Debbie Harry and I'm here to say
I'm the rappingest
So
guy in
close.
the USA. I watched it today, and please do go and watch it. It's mind-blowingly, bonkersly bad.
That sounds amazing.
But there was a period of time where like all of us, like you would get people Playboy branded stuff, but you would get like shot glasses and hip flasks and stuff. And people had like car seat covers of Playboy.
Apparently, according to Debbie Harry, the whole system of being a Playboy bunny was they were really well supported. They were paid well. They got good medical benefits. She said it was a really good empowering thing for women to do, which I did not imagine that at all. I thought it would be an absolute filth fest.
it's really weird. Like they talk about how like the Playboy bunnies were like, there's no filth in their minds. They're pure. They're clean. They've just had a bath. I'm pretty sure that's in some of the stuff. It's like, look at her. She's just had a bath. She's clean. She's great. She's not a femme fatale. She doesn't care. She's just the girl next door. We love her. Look at the bunny. It's just so bizarre.
Have you guys heard about the Bugs Bunny effect? It's a very clever way for implanting false memories into people's minds.
Sam, you've told us about this.
Have I?
You told us about yeah.
Oh yeah,
episodes ago.
Oh, okay. Wait, you're gaslighting me right now. So this was a study done where they showed a bunch of people some advertising about Disneyland, which is how I know about it. And in some of the videos, they edited in Bugs Bunny into these advertisements, which of course Bugs Bunny is not Disney at all. A third of people who were tested went on to say that, yes, they'd been to Disneyland and they'd had photos with Bugs Bunny. They actually believed in real life that they had done it, even though it was just implanted in them from these ads.
This is why eyewitness testimony is junk.
Yeah,
so
brains
bad.
are so much more squishy and malleable than we think they are.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of Bugs Bunny, the Bugs Bunny effect, there's also the bunny test, which I don't know, Jen, you might have heard of this. So back in the day when they were trying to test for pregnancy, one of the things they would do is they would take a woman's urine and they would inject it into a rabbit, and the hormones associated with pregnancy would cause the rabbit's ovaries to swell, to grow. And so then they would leave it for a week and then they'd cut open the rabbit and check the ovaries, and if the ovaries were swollen, then she was pregnant. Which is, I mean, these days it's a lot easier to buy it as a test and just take the rabbit home and do it yourself. But back in the day, they did do it through a whole lab. But at that point, they used to call it the rabbits died, and that was like a euphemism for she's pregnant. Because but all the rabbits had to die. It didn't matter if you were pregnant or not. All the rabbits had to die. But yes, so they called it the rabbit test.
Amazing.
I looked into Legomorphs for this because I was really hoping, with sloths, which are now like small and squishy and cute, there used to be a giant sloth which was called Megatherium. So that was super cool and badass. It was like 4 tons and 6 meters long, and I was like, oh, imagine if there was a giant bunny, that'd be so cool. So I looked into it, and the biggest Legomorph that has ever lived was called Neurolagus rex, which already Rex, like T-Rex, sounds great, right? It could get up to 6 times the size of a normal house rabbit.
It's
standing on its tippy toes, its paws might have reached my waist.
It's very close to a Flemish giant, isn't it? Like the Flemish giants are already pretty massive.
No. So the biggest rabbit in the world that we know of is bigger than the Neurolagus rex, which is very disappointing.
That's funny.
The world's current largest rabbit per the Guinness World Book of Records was 4'3", which I thought was pretty cool, but he was stolen in early 2021 and he has not been found as of publication date, but he's been the world's biggest rabbit for 11 years, well 12 years actually. He was awarded in 2010. So no one knows who the biggest rabbit in the world is at the moment.
How long do rabbits live, Jen? I feel there may be a sad ending to this particular story, but those megatheriums are super cool. That's why we have avocados, right? Because
they could digest them.
Yeah, so the stones would go through and be left in a little pile of fertilizer at the end.
But I'm confused about that because Megatherium died out that like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years before humans learnt about avocado on toast. So I don't know how avocados continued to propagate without Megatherium to poo them out.
I think the toast thing was optional and came about later, but I think people were looking after the avocados.
Guacamole was pretty early on, I think. Monkeys had largely figured out guacamole.
Moles are completely different, Tom. You're thinking of a different...
Guys, they are rodents.
Guys, we are running out of time. We need to go back through and recap things in a second. Does anyone have anything more?
I want to say one really quick thing, which is that in Finland, they call dust bunnies Villa Kiora, which means wool dog, which is also what they call poodles.
Oh, cute.
Which I think is really cute.
That's super cute.
Well, on that super cute note, let's just go back through and wrap up our facts and we can decide on a winner. My fact was that the first ever #1 rap song was sung by Debbie Harry, who was a Playboy bunny.
My fact was that Night of the Lepus, the weirdest movie involving horror rabbits, starred Janet Leigh, one of the greatest movie stars of all time, and her daughter was Jamie Lee Curtis, who was not allowed to be in the movie, but later went on to be in lots of movies.
My fact was, what's with all the carrots? Stop giving your bunnies carrots. It's bad for them.
And close your ears, Vladimir Putin. The perfect bioweapon might just be bunny fever.
All right, on the count of 3, point to the person you thought had the best fact of the day. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it is myself. I've won. Oh, this feels so good. What a special Easter treat for me. Thank you very much, you guys. And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Merry Easter. Do people say that? They should. I hope you have a lovely time. Eat lots of chocolate. Remember to floss. Remember to share this episode with your pals, with your friends, with your rabbits, your bunnies, your honeys, your mummies, your
daddies.
I've got off track,
your
guys.
bunnies,
oh boy.
your hares, your jackrabbits.
Your butt.
He's eating too much rabbit liver.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Peace. Bye-bye.